Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about the manual import-export process that you could use in Gridley. So as I said before, all of these views that you could use can import and export things manually. And I would, I will just show you that. Simple enough. So we're going to this kind of test view again. And so if you remember the section we talked about here, we have the import and export. Now, there are two ways of importing and exporting data, and there are two distinguished ways that you need to do it. So if you're working with languages and localization, you have a specific exporter, importer. I will show you that later. The first thing we'll focus on is the importer exporter if you are not working with localization. So for example, here, the import view is not much to look at. You select your file and you press import basically. Now, so I will focus on the export part. So if we press export here, now note that there's a lot of columns selected. This will not be the case if you have your own view. It will only export the things that are in your view. You can select the type, so CSV or Excel, and this sneaky drop down is, if you click it, you will be able to select which columns you want to export. Now this is super important. You always need the record ID and the Fatshark ID. So you don't need the rest of the stuff. You can just export the things that you need to change. Like for example, if you were a writer, this would probably be enough. So you only have the master text and you have your record ID and Fatshark ID. But this is both of these are absolutely needed, or data can be destroyed. Once you are sure that you have the Fatshark ID and you have the record ID and the other columns that you want to export, you basically click export and you will have an Excel file with this information that you can change, and then when you import, you just do exactly the same thing. Now, if you're working with localization, there's a different way to import data. And that is this gray button over here that says localization. This is also only available in views that have languages that have localization, basically. And you see here you have a localization import and export. So import is basically as simple as it sounds. You drop a file, that's it. Export looks like this, so a bit different. Now, in some of the views, this is very limited, just as the other one, and it will only have the languages and things set up. So again, don't be alarmed by the amount of settings. These will be slimmed down when you have a specific view. One thing you need to do, you need to select the source language if that is not already set up. So you would click master, and then stuff is starting to look a bit more similar. So this will export all of the languages. If you have this one checked, and if not, you could select your specific ones. So if you just want to have work with Italian, for example, by default, the export will not include things that are already up to date, aka it's already translated and approved. So if you for some reason also want to export everything that's up to date, you need to check this button, but by default it's off. And usually what you want to work with is stuff that's not done. So it makes sense. Now, you also have this option here that says export to the same sheet. Now, if you don't have this button checked, every language will have its own Excel sheet. Again, what we talked about here, other columns that are crucial for this to work is record ID and Fatshark ID. This is a must to remember to have these two. So please always remember to check the record ID and the Fatshark ID when you're exporting things. And then you just press export and you will get your files basically. And the import is pretty close. It's exactly the same thing, but in reverse. You do have some options when you import, but basically there's not much to talk about. You drop your file and you press import and it will do the magic for you basically. And that is it. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.